Thank you for joining us here tonight. I'm Tina, and I am the director at the Pantry here. And I don't know if you've been to the Pantry or not, but I am in charge of the Pantry. We're really excited to have you all here this evening. This is our first time of doing a class where we're going to do some spices and we're going to do some teaching about nutrition, and we're hoping to get your kids excited about eating and eating healthy foods, because I think all of us can learn more about that.
Now I'm going to talk about making food from scratch. Who's a firm believer in cooking from scratch in this room? Raise your hands real high. Cooking from scratch, why do you like it? More control over, absolutely. What's going into your mouth, true. Why else do you like cooking from scratch?
I can pronounce all the names of the ingredients.
Right. There's a spice here called cumin, or yeah, cilantro, kind of maybe, but no, I agree with you. Yes, Tanika. Yeah. That's true. It is like a science experiment. It's like going to Vegas. You never know what you're going to end up with. And you're right, because you want to try and experiment with something. I have a couple stories about some stews that my wife has made. Whoa. I'm glad there's some TV dinners in the microwave, but we'll get, again, to that later. Across the board, cooking from scratch is lower cost than eating out or buying prepared foods. So that's something to definitely keep in mind. Better flavor than fast foods, and that goes back to what Jesse said. You can't pronounce the names of the preservatives and the different ingredients. I would like to know exactly what artificial flavoring is, because that's all they put on there, right? Artificial flavor. I'm like, I don't know what that tastes like. So you have more control over the flavor. And pre-prepared foods, you can't take the spices out. When you're making it from scratch, you get to control and go through the cooking process and do your best to control what it tastes like in the end. Less sodium. If you're diabetic, you can have control of sugars that are put in there, carbohydrates, etc. Obviously, increased nutrition. That's what some of our breakout groups are going to talk about, is the nutrition benefits of everything from cooking from scratch, the ingredients, but spices. Things that you think just add heat and flavor, those actually have nutritional benefits that we'll talk through as well. And in the end, you know what you're eating. You know what's going in your mouth because you've put it in the pan and you have controlled what primarily is in that dish. Back. I want to transition to two typical ingredients of some of the recipes that we have here that have some specific requirements. Those are cooking with dried beans, and second, I'm going to talk about pasta. So with dried beans, they're lower cost buying them dry than when you buy them canned, already ready to cook. And when it comes to cooking with dried beans, the amount of time you need to boil, soak, and then cook after soaking depends on the different kinds of beans that you have. We have a great list in this pamphlet that gives you a good guide to not only how long to cook after you've boiled, but some that you don't even need to pre-soak. Smaller items like lentils, soybeans, split peas, you don't have to pre-soak those for long periods of time. You can just throw them in the boiling water and cook them. General guidelines I just want to talk through. When you buy bagged beans, what you want to do is you want to open that bag up and spread them out or sort through them before you boil them. Who knows why you want to do that? Why do you want to sort beans before you cook them? Anybody know? In the back? Yeah.
The bathroom? Yeah, go.
There could be little stones in the dried beans. That's absolutely right. Now, as modern technology has improved and they sort the beans better, there's fewer stones than there used to be, but you still want to do that. You also allows you to pick out any broken beans that you don't want in your sauce or mismatched beans. You can end up with a big bag of white northern beans and there's a chickpea in the middle. That's because the factory got them mixed up. So you can sort those out. You want to pre-rinse your beans to get off any dust or any other starches that have built in the outside of the beans, because that can affect how well they get soft after they've been boiled. You want to bring it to a nice bubbly boil, turn down the heat, and cook for 2 minutes. You want to, after you've brought them to a boil, you put a lid on those beans and you set them aside. Because now that the beans have heated, they've actually expanded a little bit. It kind of breaks the outer shell and lets the water soak in. So you set them aside for a different amount of time depending on the type of bean you've got, and that'll get them nice and soft rather than the hard, chewy beans if you don't soak them long enough. After you've set them aside, depending on the kind of bean that you've got, you then recook the pamphlet you're going to get. The last thing I want to get to is pasta. There are a lot of myths about pasta, about how to correctly cook it, things you should and shouldn't do. There's one entire really nice long page devoted to this. I'm going to hit the high points. Something that surprised me about cooking with pasta, you should avoid putting oil in the water when you cook pasta. The myth is you put oil in the water to keep the pasta from sticking. Actually, pasta sticks because you didn't boil it in enough water. You need lots of water when you heat and boil pasta to loosen it up. Also, you should boil the water, get it all the way up to a boil before you add salt. You don't want to add salt to the water until it's at a boil for two reasons. Number one, if you put that salt in when it's boiling, the salt dissolves faster. And two, if you put the salt in the cold water, that salt will sink to the bottom and it can ruin your stainless steel pots and dishes. It'll actually pit it and put small white marks in it. So you don't want to add salt until it starts boiling. And the interesting thing about that I read about this, that I learned from researching this, is that you can put a lot of salt in the water when you boil pasta because the majority of that salt will not go into the pasta. It drains off when you drain it out. You want to do that just strictly for taste. Obviously, if you're on a sodium-restricted diet, you want to be cautious about how much you do. When it comes to adding the pasta and sauces together, this is why you don't drain pasta after you've boiled it. You simply put it in the colander after you dump it out, shake it just a little bit, and put that pasta right back into your bowl. If you rinse the pasta after you boil it, it actually will make it so the sauce you make doesn't stick to the pasta. If you rinse it, you're rinsing off a little bit of starch on the outside of the pasta, and it makes the sauce not stick to it. That's why you end up with watery spaghetti and the sauce doesn't stick to it. You'll hear terms like al dente. The Italians have like 900 words for how to cook pasta. All that al dente means is you cook the pasta enough so it's soft but not mushy. And al dente means tooth. And what that means is the best way to test if pasta's ready, sorry kids, is not throwing it against the wall. I know that's a ton of fun. I do it. But the right way to test it is you actually take a little bit of the pasta out, cool it off, and you take a quick bite of it. It should be soft on the outside, but to have just a bit of firmness in the middle. And that's how you know you've properly cooked pasta. And you can go a little more or less based on how you like it, but that's typically the best way to cook pasta.
So what did you think? Is there anybody that can tell me? There was this one dish that we called it the spicy dish, and it was really bright, kind of red-orange, and it had chicken, and it had a vegetable in it. Does anybody know what vegetable is in it? Cauliflower. Cauliflower, that's right. How many like that cauliflower? I really did. That was good. So it had chicken and cauliflower. Now, can anybody tell me what the spice was that made it orange and yellow? Do we know the name of it? It starts with a T. No, there would be red. That's close. Turmeric. Very good. So turmeric is a spice that it's very yellow, and you have to watch out because it will stain your countertop. There's a little yellow ring in this kitchen where I put down the spoon, and now, but if you get soap and water, it will eventually come off. But you have to watch out. But can you think of other foods that are orange like that? And I'm thinking that Bugs Bunny likes to eat. Carrots. Carrots. If you were to say carrots are good for you, who would say carrots are good for you, they're really helpful? I mean, everybody knows carrots are good. But if you were to say turmeric is good for you, would you know that? You probably wouldn't know that, but it's as good for you as carrots are. And all you need to do is put a little bit of that spice in your soup, or in your stew, or maybe in your spaghetti sauce, or over your ravioli, and you are like, it's like eating another vegetable. It's very good for you. And somebody has a question? Anybody have a question? If you have a question, raise your hand. So who liked the turmeric? Did everybody taste it? Did you like it? Good, good. So I hope that we're going to send some turmeric home with you. This is what it looks like. And there's another food that is made with turmeric, and it can be really sour, and if you chew it, it's really crunchy, and sometimes you put it on hamburgers. Pickles. Pickles are made with turmeric. That's a spice they're very good for you too. Now another ingredient that is in that spicy chicken looks like this when it's fresh. Does anybody know what this is?
Can I eat it?
Ginger. Yes, this is a ginger root. Very good. And it smells so good. Ginger is very good for you. And one thing that your grandmother probably knew that maybe, I'm going to pass this around so you can smell it. It smells so good. Maybe your grandmother knew that we don't hear that much about, but ginger, if you've got a stomach ache, having a little bit of ginger tea will help your stomach. So who's had a stomach ache before? I know I have. So what I do is I take the ginger root. You want to peel off the peel. You don't want to eat the peel. So just make a couple of little slices, like just about this size, and put it in the bottom of a cup. Pour some boiling water over it, and you've got some nice ginger tea that if you have a stomach ache, it'll help you feel better. But here's the neat thing. Smell it. What does that smell like? Does that smell like? That smells like ginger. You can also use ginger powder, because who has ginger root in their refrigerator? Not some people do. Oh, thank you, Susan. So here, I'll pass this around. So ginger root, it is kind of expensive, but if you buy small amounts and you can keep it in your freezer, because if you keep it in your refrigerator, it shrivels up and turns into this shrivelly up little thing you don't want to eat. But you can keep it in, do you keep with the skin on and everything? Oh, thank you. So what she would do is she would take her ginger root, peel it, put it in the baggy hole, and then when you want to use some, you can just take it out of the freezer and shred some off of it. And it's fresh, and it still has all the good nutrients that you need to calm your stomach or just feel better. So how about this? Who can tell me what this is? We've already heard about onion today, and it does make you cry. There's a chemical that kind of evaporates, and I'm really glad you learned about that. And I'll be curious how many people are going to try the sliced bread in their mouth when they peel it. But here's something else with onions. You can have onion powder. Have that in your cabinet. And so if you run out of onions, you are still adding nutrition to your foods if you add onion powder. So I'll pass around the onions and the onion powder. Right there. Now here's the last one I'm going to talk about, which is, who can tell me what this is? It comes as a bulb. Do you know? Starts with a G. Yes, Jalen knows. It's garlic. And is that, how do you pronounce your name?
Jalen.
Jalen. Jalen knows. So garlic, you can buy it fresh in the bulb. And when you peel it, I learned this new. I didn't know this. But after you peel the garlic, you can take your knife and just sort of smash it. And then you want to, and what this does, it opens up the garlic, and these enzymes become active that were just sitting there, just waiting for somebody to eat it. And it's actually healthier. So you want to just open it up, smash it, let it sit for about 10 minutes, and that improves the nutritional value of it. And then you want to add it to your food at the end. You don't want to cook it for a long time. You want to add it, okay, let's set the table, let's get the food all ready, let's smash the garlic, and then, actually then it's time to set the table, stir it into your food, and then you're ready to eat. So those are just little ways, and then it's the same way with garlic. Use garlic powder if you don't have garlic on hand, and use onion powder if you don't have onions on hand. It really will make a difference, and I think we don't realize little things can just make you so mad. Have you noticed how little things can just make you so mad if somebody looks at you funny? But it's just the opposite is true. Little things can also make you feel really good. So just a little bit of spice makes your food taste good, and it adds good nutrition, and it just adds a little spice to life.